Hello. So I'm Joan McGinnis and welcome. Tonight we're going to be painting this cute little sea lion. And he's just adorable. We've got lots of different ways to do it. And I will be taking you step by step through the whole thing. And who knows, maybe yours will turn out looking more like this one. I've got the darker version and I've got a lighter version. So it just depends on which blue you use, and I've given you a couple of them. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your paints out of the box because you're going to need that little piece of tape. It's a white piece of tape, and you're going to use it to put. I'll show you in a minute. So I'm going to pause you for a second and then continue the process. Pausing. See if I can pause you. Okay, I'm recording again. You need to take the picture that I gave you of just the line drawing, and what we're going to do is we're going to scribble on the back of it. And that way, we're not going to be painting on this. We're going to be using this as the tracing. And when we take that tape, after we put down the graphite on the one side and then tape it down, that will then, when we go over the lines, it will put it on our nice hard piece of watercolor paper. This watercolor paper is the best. It's called Arches 300-pound rough, cold press, rough press. And I usually I'm going to put it on the smooth side this time. Okay, so I'm going to switch right now to my other camera. So I'm switching right now. Let's see if this works. Aha, it does work. Okay, so you're going to take your pencil, and there should be a sharpener in there. You're going to turn that guy over. Remember, this is not the piece of paper you're going to be using for painting. This is just printer paper. And that way it'll help you, instead of trying to spend time figuring out how to draw the guy, we can spend more time actually painting. So that's what I'm going to do, is put that on the back, and I kind of press hard so that it'll make a nice transfer. I pick it up to make sure that everything's covered, and it looks like it is. And then I take that piece of tape, and I'm actually going to rip off part of the top of him because he's too tall for the piece of paper. And I want him to go smack in the middle, just like this. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see. And then I'm going to take that piece of tape and put it right on top so it doesn't move out of the way. I will be taking my pen, my ballpoint pen, not the micron pen. It has to be the ballpoint because you're going to press fairly hard. And then I'm going to do the transfer. And I'm going to press down and go over the animal. So I thought this was a harbor seal. But no, it's not. It is actually called a sea lion. Sea lions are so much cuter. And I made the mistake of calling it a harbor seal. I didn't know there was a difference, but there is. Sea lions have flippers. Harbor seals have like little claws that they get around with. And so drawing in the flipper. And this one is one of the easiest ones to draw because we just don't have much to do at all. So all I'm going to do to make sure that I got everything down is I'm going to pick it up. Make sure I know where the eye is and that funky ear. Pick it up again and look at it and say, voila, it's perfect. So now this piece of paper you will not use anymore. So you can fold it up and toss it away. All right. So what I need you to do is you're going to put a little bit of water. You're not going to scrape it or anything. Just hang on to this bag. You do not need to put this thing back in it at the end when you return it, but I would like the bag back. That would be great. I always start my class with 2 glasses of water. And I usually use pint glasses, nice clean water, and I use paper towels. You're going to be using your paper towels quite a bit. You no longer need the pen, so you can put that back in the box. You no longer need the pencil, so that's gone. But what I do need you to do is clean off one of your brushes. I usually use kind of a thicker brush, and I make sure it's clean by rolling it around to make sure that it's clear. And now, whenever I give you paints, I usually go in order that we're going to use them. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a couple drops on each one. And that's how I get it ready. And I'll take you step by step and teach you what's going on. Okay? So yeah, that's all we're doing. Tonight's class, there will be a couple people in class. So you might hear me talking to some other people. I'm going to put it on pause right now, though, if I can find the pause button. All right, pause recording. I'm back. I've decided to go ahead and just make the whole video. Why not? Okay, so what we're going to do, I usually take the eraser. We're using the thick piece of paper for doing our painting. And I like to just roll my eraser around to get up the yucky little smudges. And also because I don't want all of the lines to show. So I just hit it around a little bit. I'm taking my thicker brush, the one that looks big. Some of them are numbered. It might say 12 on it, maybe the biggest brush that's in there if you want to use it. This one's fairly large, but again, make sure it's clean, because I gotta tell you, many times they're not. So the first thing we're gonna do is get our colors ready. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take my blue and I'm gonna put it here. This is the cerulean blue, and it's a beautiful light color. Love it. Put that in there. Then in between, I'm going to clean off my brush, and then I'm going to take this darker blue and put it right here. Get some more water, and there you go. I always give you too much because too little would be bad, so I'd rather give you too much. So there you go. Nice blue. Rinse off your brush. And then we're going to go down to this gray color. This color here, you could say it's black, but it's actually called Payne's Gray. And you've got a list of all your colors there too. All right. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of this crazy red. See that crazy pink? And I'm going to add a tiny bit of blue to it to make it a little bit purpley. You, of course, don't have to put any purple. I'm taking the darker purple, putting it in there. And notice how that just gets so pretty right there. The reason I wanted you to have a little bit of purple is because I noticed that the sea lion has a little bit of purple on his head. Okay, you can always make that darker if you want. Then there's this darker blue down here. I'm going to go ahead and put this here. This is for the shadows and near his armpits and on his body. So we do have 3 different blues. Then I'm going to rinse off my brush again. We never paint from the actual pod. And then I'm going to take this color. This color is the one that's on his belly and on his flipper. And it's also on his, on the rock. So there you go. I've got that all ready to go. And then I gave you a little bit of yellow at the bottom. This little bit of yellow is because I noticed he had a little bit of green on him. So we're going to make our own. I'm going to go up top and get a little bit of this light blue and go in and mix it around. And that's the very light green. You can get it a little darker if you want, But for right now, I'm just going to keep it that color, and I might put some on the rock to make it look mossy. So the whole time, these are the colors we have to use. And if we ever need to make maybe this a little darker, we can always add a little brown, and we can use other ones too. At the very, very end, we will be using the white. So don't worry about the white right now. And then we'll also use the pen, and we'll also be using the white pen as well. So we'll see how it turns out. Okay. All right, at any time during this video, if you are confused or you want it to slow down, of course you can stop and rewind it. That's the beauty of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put down a layer of water, not on the rock, only on the sky. And of course, we can just get the whole thing wet. It's important to have the picture nearby so that your painting doesn't have to look like the picture at all, believe me. But what I think is important is that when we start doing the shading on the sea lion, you have an idea of what I'm talking about and where I'm going. So it's important to have that picture. I made you that picture, a copy. It's actually not mine. It's from the internet, and ours will turn out differently. So yeah, I do copy it, and sometimes I just do little things differently on my own, and that's the beauty of it. We don't have to make it look like the painting at all. Okay. All right, so I've been very careful not to get his flipper. I've gone right up under his chin. If you need to use a smaller brush because you're afraid you might, it's got a nice tip though. I mean, it should have a nice tip. I go through and make sure that your brushes are fairly good. Okay, so what am I going to put all over the background? Well, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. I'm going to get my, my brush nice and full, okay? And then I'm just going to go in. It looks crazy dark in the beginning, but don't worry, it will lighten up. If it's going to be dark anywhere, the darkest part I feel should be at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go in and get all this in there. Again, don't get him. Worst case scenario, you get a little bit in there, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, but I would prefer to keep him a different color, or her. I don't know what she is. All right, I'm going in there. Oops, see, I got a little on him. And I'm rolling around in that blue, not the cerulean blue. If you want to use a cerulean blue, go for it. That's why I gave you two different blues. And I will actually put the cerulean blue in here so you can see. But again, I just like things to pop out. So I wanted to give you the choice. Okay. And again, right up to them, right up there. You want to keep it nice and wet. Okay. It's going to take a little longer to dry this because this is the thicker paper. And whenever I use thicker paper, I always tell people it's wonderful because you can keep going in and doing it over and over again, but the problem is drying it. Okay, I'm going to go down here, make it darker. At this point, if you want to, you could technically add salt. If you add salt, you don't want it super wet, but you don't want it dry either. The salts can make it actually look like you've got waves going on there. Okay, so I'm going to do it just to show you what it would look like. I'm going to go get my table salt right now, but I'm also going to show you if you think it's too dark, you can just take the water, put it on, and go like this. You kind of push it around, push it down. It's weird. It's like you're mopping it. And so, yeah, I kind of do this. I move it around. It's okay. The sky has lots of different levels. And then I'm going to go in and take that crazy light blue and I'm going to put it in the sky as well, because I think the sky should have lots of different colors. If you want to put purple in the sky, that's okay too. Honestly, it's just what you want to do. And I know it's scary because sometimes you think, well, what am I don't know what I'm doing. You're teaching me, right? It's true. I wouldn't know what to do either. But, if you have extra paint at the end, what you can do is experiment and do it again, maybe. All right, I'm going to put you on pause real quick, and I'm going to run and get my table salt. So here it is, pausing the video. Okay, I have the table salt now. So what I need to tell you though, if you are using the table salt, you cannot, I don't want you to dry it with your hair dryer because, see, I'm just going to sprinkle it on a little more at the bottom and then right there, and I'm going to let it just sit. Okay. And if I leave this alone for a while, the effect might work. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see. I did not put it at the top here, though. I did not put it up here. I just wanted to see if something would happen at the bottom. But I do like to drop some water on it because it can make it look interesting. It's an experiment. That's all I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to put it on pause while this is naturally drying. And once it gets to the point where it's not shiny anymore, I will put my hair dryer on it and then I'll take the salt off with my hand. Okay, it's kind of like a cooking show. I went ahead and took a different one because this other one is still drying. So I had to go ahead and use this other one. Now, the only difference in this one, and you can still do this to yours, is I made the top very, very light with the ceruleum. And then I went ahead and I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to zoom in so you can see that it actually looks like there's some waves going on here, and it looks like you've got a little bit of action. So I'm only telling you this. I'm not even going to do it in my other class. I'm just telling you this because since you've got the time and you're watching this video, you may want to do it. The next thing I'm going to do, once it's dry, once it's completely dry, and I've gotten rid of the salt if you want to, is I'm going to pre-wet the whole area of the sea lion. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush and use a very, very light wash of my gray. And that way I can put it over the whole thing. I did put a little extra by his armpit and a little extra on his flipper, just because I know that eventually I'm going to be getting it darker. Okay. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I know that you can pause this video. All right, so now I'm going to take a smaller brush. My size is a 4 or a 6. Who knows? We never know about the sizes on these things. They're always different, but it is a little smaller. And I'm going to be looking at my picture. And in the picture, I noticed that there is a little bit more gray here, a little bit more gray here, and I'm really going to focus here and here. I'm not going to worry about my flipper yet, but I'm just going to go in, and I notice that I do have a little bit of color here. I might even put a little bit of purple. So of course I want to pre-wet. So I'm going in and I'm getting his body wet, not his flipper. I'm not doing his flippers just because I want to focus on getting the two sides of his main flipper, the one in the front. I want to focus on getting that dark so that way I can't work on that flipper, if you know what I mean. And if it sounds like I'm rushed, I'm not. I'm hyper because I just came running in. I have class in half an hour for Friday night class. And I thought, you know what? I would much rather do this class to do the teaching class right now instead of worrying about making it. I'm going to do a separate video for you. So I put it right near his armpit. And then I look down below and I notice he's got a little bit down here. I just keep that picture real nearby. And I know that this is where it's the darkest place is right by his flipper. So that'll make it bounce right out. And his bottom. It's almost like he's sitting on his haunches. And I do notice that besides being gray, it's dark blue. So I'm going to take my very bottom blue, move that around a little bit and go ahead and put it in where the gray is. And because this paper's so wonderful, I can actually do this a couple times. So I can go in, and after I put the gray, then I put the blue, then I put the gray again. And that's okay, because like I said, this is like cardboard. It's so wonderful. And now, just to make it look a little smoother, I'm going to go ahead and mellow it out. And by dragging it across, it's one of the easier ones we've done. We've done a lot harder. So we can just take our time making it just look right. And I'm going to go up, bring that down. I can always lighten it. Do not worry if you think it's too dark. And like I said, we're going to be using the white at the end. We can put the white on his chest, but it would just be nice to have some different variations in there. All right, I'm going in right now and I'm putting a little bit on his head. I'm putting the purple in there because I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they have all sorts of interesting colors. And I even will put a little purple down below. And that is just going to look so pretty. Clean off my brush again. And I'm going to go up near his head because I feel like that's where it's dark. So I'm going to put in his little cap. I feel like they look like dogs, you know? And there. So it's a little dark, but that's okay. I'm going to go in and do a little mop job. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay. Now, what do I need on his belly? Well, I know that I need to make this look a little bit lighter, just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to go boop, boop, boop right there. All right. And then boop, boop, boop. It's so nice to see what happens to the water. You know, it's just so relaxing. I love it. I like watching people put on makeup too. Now, I'm going to have to dry this up because I can't do the flippers when it's wet. I can't do wet near wet. So I am going to add a little bit more dark blue to his stomach, just a tiny bit, because it looks like that's kind of makes it look a little heavier, you know, the darker part. And I'm going to add a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of green right there on his chest because, you know, they're dirty. They actually smell really bad. I'm sure you guys have smelled them before when they're like at pair 39. And now right around his ear, I'm going to get a little bit of that brown, just a little bit. Whoops, I got too much. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I've done. But that's okay, you know. I just to go in there and get my water in there, and maybe his face is kind of dirty. There you go. I'm going to put a little bit on his belly. Beautiful. And then pick it up a bit. There. Okay, looking at it, the white will take care of his rump. I like the colors that I have going on there. I feel like I need a little bit of dark near his face. Eventually, I will put in his nose, but I feel like I just need a little bit. So I went in and I put some down, and now I'm picking it up. Okay. All right, I'm going to put you on pause while I dry it, and then we're going to work on his little flipper, his other flipper. We're going to dry it and then do the bottom part. It's going to be so pretty. Okay. All right. So I feel it. And if it feels cold, then it's still wet, but this does not feel cold to me at all. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to get just his flipper wet. So I'm going to go in and just get that little guy here. Okay. And I notice that there's some dark blue. So I'm going to go ahead and put the dark blue on the first part. And one thing I like about this is that there is some dark, it's almost the Payne's gray right there where it bends. So that way it'll look like there's a bend in it if you could get that in there just so. And then I'm going to drag the dark out because there's dark on the outside here and a little bit of dark on this side. So, and then a little bit, I noticed a little bit on his flipper, a little bit of that burnt sienna, super pretty. In fact, I feel like I need a little bit more on the belly. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more on there and then move it around a bit. I probably shouldn't have done that. I know I shouldn't have because I got it all nice and dry for my flipper. So why did I do that? That was stupid. Oh well. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and my gray is kind of mixed with my blue a little bit. And I'm going to focus on getting this. I do want to keep it nice and light though, because I don't want it, I want it to pop out, you know. And I'm going to go back in and get the creases and a little bit more of that dark blue. Oh, good. Okay, so hopefully that works for you guys. And of course, you can always move things a little bit around if you got to massage it to make it look like it all fits in nicely. And the bend is where you've got the dark blue and it's almost like I'm drawing little lines on it, you know, but it's definitely looks like a bend there to me. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, mellow this out a little bit. Okay. And now this guy is very dark. I actually ran out of my Payne's gray. I didn't run out, but I ran out of the one that was ready to use. So I had to get a little bit extra. I'm going to be real careful next to his body. It was kind of a no-no that I added a little bit more there, but it seems to be dry, so I'm okay. Okay, I made a little triangle. And then I'm going to put the darkest part in there, dry off my brush and get some of that darker blue. So I have a little bit of variance in there. That'll look pretty. And it's way too dark right now. So I got to lift it a little bit. All right. Oh, just a little bit. I'll put a little drop in there and then lift. It's hard to lift in small places, but it'll look good. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to dry this up because the next thing I'm going to do is get all this part wet. I'm going to do a shadow here, and put in some different colors. So I'm putting on you on pause while I dry with my hair dryer. Okay, I'm back. All right, for this part, we're going to get all of this wet, and I'm going to start with putting in a little bit of dark blue here. I don't want it to look too much like it, but I am going to keep it so a little shadow and a little bit of purple, not much, maybe purple grayish. And then I'm going to make sort of a muddy color and put in a little extra. I might even put in some green, you know. So here I go, getting it wet. Going in, getting that part right there. The whole thing doesn't have to be done because if I frame it, I mean, then of course the whole thing wouldn't be covered. You know what I mean? Okay. Little bit in here. Don't forget the inside. You don't need much water in there. but just enough to get it all nice and wet. All right, so what am I going to put in there? Well, I'm mixing a little bit of my dark blue with my Payne's gray, and that makes sort of a nice color. I might even put a little bit of purple in there just because I want it to be a different color. You know, I want it to look like a shadow. I don't want it to look like part of him or her, it. Okay. I do notice that it's a little lighter inside here, so I'm going to see if I can make it lighter. That's kind of hard to do on a very small area. And now I'm going to take the same purplish color, put just a little bit right in his belly pocket area. If that's a word, belly pocket. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see. I'm going to take mostly a very, very light gray and move it around. But then I'm going to also add a little bit of, to make it look browny, I'm using that sort of the burnt sienna. So when the two mix, they look nice and rock colored. And throw in some dots, maybe a little darker up here on the side. And another thing I'm going to do is throw in some of my burnt sienna right in the front there. And maybe that is also why his belly looks like it's got a little bit of a, you know, like a pattern on it, because it's reflecting because he's wet. I don't know. I'm making that up. I'm making it up. What do I know? Okay, what else do I need? I feel like haven't done a very good job on his shadow. So I'm going to go back in. And again, you might have to do it a couple times just to get it looking a bit shadowy. I don't want it to go too far down. And I might even match the color over here just a little bit. I guess the sun, if he's sunning himself, the sun would come from up here. Whoops, I think I splatted it with something. That's no bueno. Okay, so it looks like I'm done. If I want some sharper bits in it, I can go ahead. If I want it to look like there's nooks and crannies in it, that would be nice. You don't want it to be flat. That would be terrible. No reason to have a flat rock. I mean, he's sitting on it, it's smooth, but it can have little bits and pieces on it. So again, I'm going to drop in some water, and then just let it do its own thing, you know? Plus, it might look like maybe there's some splashing waves or something, you know, who knows? I'm going to dry it up, and once it's completely dry, I will take my white color. In fact, I can do it right now because this top part is white, is dry. I can go in and put some on his back. And remember, this will get lighter. Excuse me, it will mellow out. So I'm going to make it look like it's his hind haunch. I'm going to do a little bit on his belly to lighten that up a bit. And I did notice that he's got some on his nose because I'm going to be doing whiskers. And I think that'll look really cute when I put that there. And he's got a little bit of white on his chest. So I'm going in, getting his chest just a little bit, cleaning off my brush, and then mellowing it out so it doesn't look like he's wearing a bib, even though it might. And very gently going in there and just mellowing it out. I think also when you do this, it's nice because it can smooth out some of the lines. Like if you felt that maybe, you know, you wanted it to be a little lighter in a part, you can just go in there and, oh, it's just such a nice relief to use it. I just can't imagine not painting without it. And at first I heard people were like poo-pooing it, and now I hear it all the time. So it's just like, really? It's like wearing white after Labor Day. Seriously? Who cares? More Memorial Day, whatever it is. I don't even know the saying, but what I'm saying is I think you can do whatever the heck you want to do. It's your painting, you know? It's not like it was on your rubrics that you weren't supposed to do X, Y, and Z. I say go for it. And no matter how much you put on, it goes away. It is so weird. It's like I'll put it on and then I'll look at it and I'll think, well, didn't I just put one on there? So it looks like he's got a little whisker. I don't know. I don't know where it went, you guys. I swear it looks like it disappears. Okay. So again, I gave you way too much. Why do I do that? I don't know. I'm very wasteful. That's how I do it. I'm wasteful. What else do I see? I see a little bit of white down here. So I'm putting some in. It looks like it's too much until I start massaging it. Heck, sometimes I even get my finger in there and massage it, you know? Mm, gosh, I like this guy. And worst case scenario, if you're like me, I got rid of too much. Well, guess what? You can go in and fix the part you took away. If you feel like, oh no, I got rid of way too much. Sometimes I get a little too excited when I'm using the white. So no big whoop, guys. Just go in and fix what you think you've messed up. I thought I messed up his butt because I did a little too much. It'll make it look a little, it'll make it look a little different, but you know what? It'll be okay. All right. When it's dry, completely dry, I might even put in a little extra white with my pen. I'm going to do whiskers. Look to see that the whiskers come in and you can pull them in like that. Can I do whiskers now? Ooh. I don't want to do the whiskers until I've dried it because I'm afraid that it's going to mess up my pen. So give me 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, guys, this is the end. I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to put in his nose a little better. I'm going to put in his eyeball and his ear. Put in a little bit for his face. I can do some little lines, you know, it kind of looks like he's got wrinkles. So I am going to add some of those in. But it's the whiskers that I want. So I'm looking at the ones they have and I notice that they come down just like that. That's what does it. That's it, guys. That's all I did was put in some whiskers, did his eye again, made his ear a little flap, and I might even, well, am I going to do it? I always say I might, but I am. I'm going to put in some wrinkles down here, just so everyone knows that that's, and then I'm going to sign it somewhere, depending on where I do all that stuff. Okay. My white pen. Dun, 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 dun. Of course, I can put in a little bit of white right here to make it look even prettier. And I can put in some on his whiskers too. There's no reason why I can't have that there. Little extra light white on his nose because he's adorable. He should be wearing some sunscreen. Just kidding. And I hope you've enjoyed tonight's class. I think you should be proud of it. All right, goodbye. And now what do? I need to stop this video, stop this crazy thing.